Beast is another Disney live-action remake of another one of their famous cartoons. This one is of Beauty and the Beast, which is based off a famous French fairy tale. And this movie is not like a Jungle Book where it basically takes the original and redoes the story. It's pretty much the same exact story, so pretty much explaining the plot is kind of pointless, because you probably already know it. Belle is a girl who's seen as odd, wants something more than her life in this village, and the prince was cursed to be a beast because he was a douche, and he needs true love to break the curse. And when Belle's dad gets captured by the beast and Belle offers to take his place, their love story unfolds from there. You really didn't need to hear that, but I just did anyways. I think Disney's been doing a really good job with their remakes, save for Maleficent, because I don't really like that movie. Peach Dragon was a solid film, and Cinderella I thought was really good, and The Jungle Book was, in my opinion, absolutely phenomenal. So when I heard that they were remaking Beauty and the Beast, I was perfectly on board with the cast. It seemed like they were all perfect for their roles, but I was still very concerned that they were just going to remake their stuff just for the sake of remaking it. It didn't seem like there was any way for them to improve upon the Beauty and the Beast cartoon, because that film is honestly incredible. It's amazing. I recently rewatched it in preparation for this film, and I still believe that it is one of the best animations of all time. There really isn't much that you can do different with that film to improve upon it, so I was really more curious to see what they were going to do, if it was going to be a beat-for-beat remake, or if they were going to make some change to it in some way, like The Jungle Book or Cinderella. And I walked out of this film actually enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. And what I really appreciate with this movie is that even though it is pretty much the same story, the major beats from the original are in this film, they do add in some changes, like character-wise and small story elements that actually have it stand out on its own. And in my opinion, these two Beauty and the Beast films that we now have from Disney are kind of on par as far as quality. It's kind of hard for me to just decide one is better over the other, because the original works for so many ways, but in this film they make some changes that are good for this version, but you can't really say that it's better than the original. They're honestly really on par as far as quality. They're both really good films. One of the changes I really liked in this movie was around the character of Belle, played by Emma Watson, who I think did a really good job in this movie, but they added in some depth as far as her mother. They didn't really touch upon that at all in the original film, but in this one they actually added that in, and I think that actually helped flesh out her character a little bit more, and it actually also helped her scenes with her father, played by Kevin Kline. Those scenes kind of had a really nice sincerity to them, and it actually made me grow attached to these characters more than I did in the original, especially the father, who in my opinion in the original was just a throwaway, but in this movie Kevin Kline did an excellent job playing the father. Another change I really liked as far as character goes is the Beast. In this movie he's played by Dan Stevens. Motion capture, it's incredible, but the main thing I really liked about the Beast is that in the original film, if you know, the Enchantress curses the Beast because he rejects her letting her in, even though he's like a really small child, because the curse says that he has to find true love before his 21st birthday, and Lumiere in the song Be Our Guest says, 10 years we've been rusting, so it kind of hints that he was cursed at 10, when of course he's not going to let this old lady in because he's a 10-year-old boy. In this movie they changed it so he's cursed as an adult, and the Enchantress kind of has an excuse to be mad at him to the point of cursing him. To me that actually makes more sense, and it actually improves upon the relationship between him and Belle, because in the original their love kind of grew because she was teaching him how to basically act like a mature person, and in this one he still has that mature intellect. It's just that he's a big douche, and you actually see his character progress from not being a douche and actually having a heart. I think they actually did a much better job at that as far as their relationship goes. Luke Evans as Gaston, honestly, he was born to play this role. He was perfect as Gaston. He's still the big lovable oaf who's a big idiot, but he's so funny. I was dying laughing at a lot of his jokes in this film, but then there's some moments where he has to be sinister, and that still works. And I also really like what they did with the character of LeFou, and no, it's not for that reason that you know of, because the media has blown it way out of proportion. In case you didn't know, the media has gone crazy because Disney has come out saying that LeFou is gay, and number one, when I first heard it, I thought, okay, LeFou was in the original a little bit gay for Gaston, right? But also in this movie, I was waiting for like one moment where I was like, okay, yeah, of course they had to talk about that because that's a big thing, but there's never really a moment where LeFou has like a big gay moment. It's just he acts sort of flamboyant. I just don't understand why that was so blown out of proportion, because it's something that kids will not catch up on. It will fly right over their heads. But I still think Josh Gad did a really good job as LeFou. I like the changes that they kind of made with him as far as his relationship with Gaston. And I also think that Josh Gad should just never leave the Disney lot, because Olaf, I love him in Frozen, but then he did Pixels, and I wanted him to never act again. But now here he is in live action, playing LeFou in this Disney movie, and I'm just starting to think that he works well with Disney, and should just never do anything like that ever again, or never work with Adam Sandler ever again. One big thing I was really worried about going into this movie was how they were going to treat the servants being turned into the household objects, the candelabra, the clock, the pot. How was this all going to work in a live-action film, in an animated film? Of course you can do, like, inanimate objects talking and stuff. It's easy to do that in a cartoon, but this is a live-action movie that's supposed to sell you on being real. I was worried, in particular, two scenes, how they were going to look, the Be Our Guest number and the attack near the end, where they're combining live-action and the CGI. It actually looked fantastic. The visuals in this movie honestly do look spectacular here. Everything seemed like it fit where it had to be when they had to blend in the CGI with the live action. It honestly did look super good. It really did feel like these things were actually moving around and talking. And it also really helps that the set design was beautiful to look at in this movie, especially the Enchanted Castle. It was just so stunning to look at these sets and think so many people put a lot of time into creating this, and it looks gorgeous. And even the cinematography helps capture that feeling very well. This movie has lots of Disney movie magic in it, like for example the Be Our Guest number visually. Mwah, mwah. That scene had Disney magic written all over it. It was gorgeous to look at. And also later on in the ballroom scene, when you have the combination of the live action and the CGI being the motion captured beast, that looked really good. I was a little worried about that because that was a scene that was so famous in the animated film. I was wondering, is this going to look goofy in a live action movie, or is it going to work? I think it worked seamlessly. And also Emma Thompson as Mrs. Potts, not only did she work as the character, but in that specific ballroom scene she has to do the song The Tale as Old as Time, Beauty and the Beast theme song, and she did a really good job. I'm so glad they cast her as Mrs. Potts. I think she was perfect for it, honestly. Which leads me to another thing. The songs in this movie are all really good. There are a few new songs in there that aren't in the original. There's one that they cut out, which I'm glad they cut out, honestly. But then you have the songs that you know and love, and I think they tributed them very well. I don't think anyone in this cast was a bad singer. A lot of people apparently are really divisive as far as how Emma Watson sang in this movie. Some people pointed out that she was auto-tuned and that you can hear it. Honestly, in my theater where I was sitting with the surround sound going, I honestly couldn't find a trace of auto-tune. Maybe I'll pick it up later on, but from what I heard in that moment and what I'm still hearing when I'm listening to the soundtrack again, I think she's doing a really good job. And even the Beast, Dan Stevens, is an excellent singer. Like, he's doing a voice for the Beast, like a really deep voice, and yet that singing voice still works. It was honestly incredible. I think Gaston was easily the best singer in this movie, though. And of course, the Be Our Guest number. Ian McKellen, I heard a little bit of him. He's actually really good, but of course, Ewan McGregor, I guess out of the household objects, he was the standout. I loved Ewan McGregor in this movie as Lumiere. Honestly, even though he's not an actual French person, I think he did a really good job with the accent. Even though he said he had trouble doing it, I think he did a really good job. If I had to have one flaw with the soundtrack, it's that there's a scene in the original where the Beast has to do a roar, and it was a very powerful moment. Every emotion you could feel just from that roar. Everything that had to be said was said with one roar. And in this movie, they get to that moment, and I'm ready for the roar. I'm ready to hear it all out, and then he starts singing a brand new song. And not that it was a bad song, it was a good song, but I think for that moment, for the scene, for the movie, a little too on the nose. I think the roar was the perfect way to just sum up how the Beast was feeling in that moment. And as far as some other flaws for this movie besides that one moment, some of the transitions from scene to scene just felt a little clunky, like there wasn't a really good flow of events for just some scenes, not the whole movie, thank God, though. Other than that, I had a really good time with Beauty and the Beast, more than I thought I would. I was going into this thing skeptical, not knowing how it was going to turn out, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The casting was excellent in this movie. The actors did a fantastic job playing these characters and also singing these songs. The visuals were outstanding to look at, whether it's the Beast motion capture or the household objects or the set design or the cinematography. Everything about it was just gorgeous. I'm gonna give Beauty and the Beast an A-. If you're skeptical about this movie just because Disney's taking a lot of their classic films and remaking them, I would say go into this movie with an open mind. Because remember, I went into this movie skeptical. I'm not the biggest fan of Disney taking their classics and remaking them, but I say give this movie a chance because, in my opinion, it's on par with the original Beauty and the Beast. But if you've seen Beauty and the Beast, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.